Hey you guys, as you may or may not know, Alyssa and I have very different tastes when it comes to extracurricular activities and ways that we spend our time. I am primarily a reader, and I do that a lot. And Alyssa, while she reads things for information, a lot of nonfiction magazine articles, and even some like Bible study stuff, she doesn't read a lot of fiction. So in order to kind of help her bridge that gap between our reading likes and dislikes, we decided to start a book club. It's not really much of a club. She and I read a book together, and over the summer we decided to read the book Hissy Fit. Sorry, that's a really weird picture, I know. It's on my tablet, my e-reader. By Hissy Fit by Mary Kay Andrews. And so what we decided to do is, after we read the book, since I'm going to be doing regular book reviews and she does other videos about everything under the sun, that we would do kind of a joint review where I review the book and she reviews the book and we post them on the same day so you guys can kind of see what we're doing. And we're also going to read some more books now that this has been a successful venture. I'm going to post about them on our shared Tumblr account. I use the word shared liberally because she doesn't really post much. I'm still trying to teach her the Tumblr ropes, as it were. But there were a lot of really funny conversations between the two of us as we read Hissy Fit, and I really wanted to record them in some way, but I didn't start even thinking about it until I had finished the majority of the book, and she had also read over 3/4 of it, so I didn't want to just plunge in with no introduction to that. So I'm going to post a really nice little blog post on Tumblr about our book club and our current selection, and then as we go along, conversations we have about it will be posted there, our reviews will post there. So the book, as I said, was Hissy Fit by Mary Kay Andrews. And the reason I read it is because I had already read it once, and I love Mary Kay Andrews, and Alyssa really likes Southern fiction too, so we chose it to be our book club book. Basically, the blurb is that Keely Murdoch, the main character, walks in on her future husband, her fiance, and her best friend in a compromising position on during her rehearsal dinner. So that starts kind of this whole jump for her where she goes from being, Keely Ray Murdoch to being, the scorned woman. She throws a hissy fit in the middle of the country club, and it just leads to complete turmoil and disaster. So, it's not really good. And the book just chronicles the changes in her life from summer to Christmas that year, and how this hissy fit and subsequent disillusion of her impending marriage engagement goes. So, and I have it written. I'm really sorry I'm reading off of this kind of, but I finished the book a couple weeks ago. Been waiting for Alyssa. Should have filmed this already, but just kind of trying to refresh my memory. So, the book really focuses a lot on how influential people are in a small town. Growing up in a small town myself, this hit home for me and was really realistic for me. Keely's business she has a decorating interior design business with her aunt, and it is drastically impacted by her choice not to marry her fiance, whose family is the most influential family in town. They blackball her, essentially. She can't get any work. Several accounts cancel their impending contracts with them, and it kind of leads us to a really scary disaster place for them. So even though Keely's fiance cheats on her, she's the one that's really punished for that act because she refuses to be with someone who is going to be unfaithful to her. So her business is really compromised, but also because she is victimized by her hometown and becomes, like Keely Murdoch, that Murdoch girl whose fiance was, screwing around with the town hoe, and it's just terrible all the way around. But another core point is that her mother left her father when she was very young and just disappeared. And her mom was not necessarily making the best lifestyle choices, and kind of was running around being a little less than desirable in a lot of ways as a mother and a parent and as a wife. So, Keely's already has that stigma following her around, you know, her poor old Keely Ray Murdoch. Her mama done run off when she was a kid, and now her fiance's cheating on her, and she ain't never gonna get married, and, you know, those kind of things that if any of you live in a small town, you've probably either had them said about you, or have heard them said about somebody else, or maybe even have said them yourself. I think that a lot of us fall into that category, or one of those categories. The book was really funny and heartwarming in a lot of ways. You know, even though it deals with some serious subject matter, Keely's trying to find what happened to her mom when she disappeared all those years ago. She's trying to come to grips with the disillusion of the relationship she thought she was going to be in for presumably the rest of her life, and with finding out a lot of things about people in her community that she didn't know about. Like the fact that AJ's family, all of the men kind of just carry on affairs, and the women are expected to grin and bear it. Because that's what you do when you're in the position that she would have been in as the wife of, you know, the Jernigan family. So, a lot of the plot deals with Keely finding ways to heal, finding ways to be better and to get better, whether it's dealing with her mother's disappearance, whether it's dealing with not getting married, whether it's dealing with perhaps deciding to be attracted to someone later on. There are fights between her and her family members, her father and her aunt. There's fights between her and her best friend, or her other best friend, Austin. There are fights between her and AJ, and a new client that she gets. It's just a lot of realistic relationships, in my opinion. And I really, really enjoyed that a lot. So, like I said, Alissa and I started at the beginning of summer reading this book, and it took us forever to get through. Not because it wasn't interesting, but because I probably have read about 20 different books during that time period. I read multiple things at a time. Tried to stay at the same pace as the other. Both of us had a lot going on this summer. I traveled quite a bit. I didn't work. I did a lot of home repairs. You know, my bookcases that we've mentioned before, doing redecorating my bedroom. All of those are things that I've spent the summer working on. Alissa kind of similarly did a lot of traveling back and forth between her current home and our hometown to help her grandmother with various things. And all of those things that someone who's been married for less than a year end up doing. Home repairs, weddings. She had a lot going on this summer too. So it took us a long time, even though it was a really fantastic book. We should not be the yardstick measured by, you know, don't take how long it took us to read it. But as much as I enjoyed the actual book, what I really enjoyed was the experience I had reading it with Alissa. You know, I've talked before, and I know on my personal blog, I've talked before about how her moving this time last year really impacted me and impacted our relationship. Not necessarily in a negative way, but things were a lot different. We have lived in the same town for 18 years, and we've been friends since we were in 5th grade. Yeah, that's a really long time for a friendship. We worked together. We went to college together for 2 years, and we worked together for 4 years once we got out of college. I had daily contact with her, daily physical contact with her. I had seen her face to face on a daily basis for 4 years before she moved. And that was a really difficult thing to deal with. In some ways, we're really codependent on each other, in a way that may not be healthy, necessarily, but in a way that has really helped both of us. We've been a part of each other's lives for every major bad thing that we've dealt with. And so reading this book about a girl who was dealing with major bad things, the disillusion of a relationship that should have been led to marriage, the loss of, you know, the disappearance of a parent, were things that both of us have dealt with in our lives. And we were able to commiserate about those things and really connect with Keely as a character. But we were also able to connect to each other. Not that in the past year we haven't been connected, but the amount of time we spend together has been drastically reduced. The number of times that we are able to just drop things and spend time with each other when things are bad also dramatically reduced. We talk on a daily basis via telephone, but text messages don't really have the same impact as seeing your best friend face to face every single day. When bad things happen, talking to her about it on the phone or texting her is a fantastic thing. She's always there when I need her. But it's not the same as being able to drive to her grandmother's house 10 minutes away from my grandmother's house and talk about things. Or pick her up and go drive in the country and cry hysterically because something has been bad or wrong. And that's not just for me, it's for her too. Many, many times that's been the way we've reacted to stress and the way we've dealt with it. But reading this book together has given us a common activity that we have done together, just like hopefully this video blog will be. Although it won't be a Vlogbrothers type video blog where we sit and talk to each other, it'll be a way for us to discuss our interests, just like, although I know she's never going to necessarily read a young adult book that I've recently finished, I used to sit and talk to her about those. And while I'm probably not going to buy as many nail polishes as she does or use a coffee face mask, she'll talk to me about those things too. That's part of what being friends is all about, in my opinion. We share things even though we know the other one is probably never going to be engaged in that same activity. And we support each other regardless of those. But doing this together has really meant a lot to me this summer. It was a rough year for me in general, and I dealt with a lot of personal hardships. Knowing that Alyssa's always there, it's been fantastic. But knowing that, like I said, we had a common activity that we were both doing that I could at any point in time stop and say, hey, what about that time Keely did this? Or, oh my goodness, can you believe that AJ Jernigan did this? And she could respond in kind, was almost like being back at home together, talking about our day at work or talking about things that we had experienced in our day-to-day lives. So, while the book was fantastic, my absolute favorite part of it was doing something with my best friend. So, if you guys are interested in Southern literature, chick lit, which is not really a term I love because I don't think all females writers should be cataloged as chick lit, but it's funny and humorous, but deals with struggles and hardships too. So if those are things that you're interested in, or if you've read Mary Kay Andrews in the past and you thought she was fantastic, I would really recommend picking up Hissy Fit. Like I said, it brought me a lot of joy this summer. Bye!